Exit guest suite.
All right, thank you, everyone. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Mr. Clerk.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. This is the work session for December 13th, 4 p.m. This is the roll call. The Honorable Catherine F. Rao, District 1.
Present.
The Honorable Carmelita Gums, District 2. The Honorable Helen Z. Willis, District 3.
Present.
The Honorable J.C. Sebastian, District 4.
Present.
The Honorable Corey A. Reeves, District 5.
Council 4.
The Honorable Natasha Williams, District 6.
Present.
And the Honorable Linda Bacure Pritchett, District 7.
Here.
And lastly, the Honorable Mayor Khalid.
Present.
Mr. Mayor, you have a quorum.
All right. I want to just take a moment to recognize the newest member of our council, Councilwoman-elect from District 7, Ms. Linda Pritchett. Thank you for making us whole again. All right, Mr. Clerk, please sound the first item.
First item is the city manager items and reports. There will be a recognition of city staff with 5 years of service. This will be led by City Manager Tammi Sattler-Jones.
Good afternoon, Mayor Khalid and City Council members, citizens of South Fulton, Tammi Sattler-Jones, City Manager. It gives me great pleasure to recognize our city employees that have completed 5 years of service with the City of South Fulton. And I'm going to call up Ms. Hope Blakely. And do you have our certificates for them? Or are we going to wait and give that to them? Okay, can you just announce those names for me?
Can she come to the podium?
Yes, she's going to come to the podium. But we were expecting to actually give them their certificates when we have our employee holiday luncheon on this coming Friday. But we certainly want to recognize them and let the public see the great employees that we have here and their commitment to the City of South Fulton. So Hope Blakely is our interim HR director, so she's going to announce their names for you and their departments. Thank you, Hope.
Yes, good afternoon. Can y'all hear me? Good afternoon, everybody. So I wasn't prepared to speak, so I will attempt to go from memory. Go back some. Okay. I will attempt to go from memory. We have, looking around to see who's, don't have this. Okay. We have Mr. Neymar Strickland, which is in our Information Technology Department. Neymar is here. We have Ms. LaShawn Taylor with our Finance Department. We have Yusuf, which is within our mayor's office. I'm sorry, it doesn't have your last name listed.
Otway.
Yes, thank you. We also have Will Adams. Please forgive me. Will Adams with our Code Enforcement Department. Oh, CDRA. Yes, I'm sorry. And we have Mr. Michael Franklin with, yes, once again, our CDRA department. And I believe that's all we have here tonight.
Yes. Do we have any other employees that, I think you announced all the names?
No, we have one other that.
Go ahead and announce their names.
I'm sorry, Mr. Leon Richardson. He's actually with our Code Enforcement Department as well.
And Mayor, if you don't mind, we would like to take a picture with the employees who are here. And again, we were planning to officially recognize them again at this coming Friday's employee holiday luncheon. But if you don't mind, if we
Oh
could
yes,
take
I
a
was going to
picture with
ask them all to come forward now.
Okay, all right.
And as you come forward, I want to say that we have nearly 500 employees in our city, And you five are the 1% who have stuck it out for these 5 years, along with council members 1 through 3 and myself. So thank you so, so much for your dedication.
Long time. Imagine 10.
So Corey, no, you know it's not easy to patrol the paint now. And the patrol the paint back there is not easy, man.
All right, Mr. Clerk, please found the next item.
Next item is Finance Monthly Report. This will be presented by Karen Slaton Dixon, Finance Director.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Tonight I'll be presenting the October 31st, 2022 monthly report. On slide 2 here, we show that we've collected 69% of the projected property tax. Also, we've collected 116% of other taxes and 60% in charges for services. Overall, we've collected 53% of the projected revenue. On slide 3, we have a summary of expenditures as of October the 31st. So we're showing 6% of the budgeted fund being spent at the end of the first month of the fiscal year, which started October the 1st. On our slide 4, we have our general fund year-to-date tax revenues, and so we've collected $39,722,50 in 2022 taxes. So we've collected, received 79.72% in billed out property taxes. On slide 5, we have our general fund year-to-date local option sales tax, which is lost. And so we're showing a collection of 6.9% over what we received this time in FY22 budget. On our next slide, this is our general fund T-SPLOS. So we're showing a collection of less than 1% over this time in FY22. And then here, slide 7 is just a representation of our slide 3 with our departments here. And on slide 9, this is a summary of our revenues and expenditures for funds as of October the 31st. And so, of course, this is only just 1 month, so we don't have much data here on this particular slide. Okay. Next, we have our confiscated assets, which we show a balance in the bank of $313,314. They've had collected in October $18,439, and they spent $50,000 in education and training. And then as a supplement here on slide 10, we're still showing the same thing for the ARP funds. We haven't spent much just yet as of October. So we still have our same $15,000 that we purchased on turkeys back in November of 2021. The $100,000 that was spent for the vaccine incentive program. And then also we had an award that went to the Atlanta Food Bank working to secure some required signatures, so I need to follow up on that to make sure, see where we are with that particular project. And then with our development authority, they have actually haven't spent anything of their budgeted $150,000. And then on our contracts, we show as of, since our last council meeting, we had a pavement, apologize, let me get to that page. These are our contracts here that we've actually signed that are $25,000 or more. So we have a pavement condition assessment that was presented to DataStream doing business as First Step Pavement for $57,000. And that contract runs from November 18th, 2022 through May 5th, 2023. And then we had our White Mill Road full depth reclamation that was awarded to Atlanta Paving, Concrete, and Construction for $1,483,233, and that is going to be from December 1st, 2022 through March 1st of 2023. And that will conclude my report for October 31st, 2022. Any questions?
Before we begin with questions, can everyone get in the queue? And did someone show Councilwoman Pritchard how to get in the queue? Thank you. Is everyone else in the queue?
It's not yet.
Oh,
Yeah, 1 second, let me check it.
okay. Not to prolong the meeting while we're waiting, we'll just do a show of hands. Does anyone have any questions? All right, I'm gonna go in order. Councilwoman Gomes.
The question that I have is in regard, can you hear me?
Yes.
The question that I have is in regards to the rental and mortgage assistance. That is the new vendor that bid was awarded to?
Correct, because the
Okay.
first one didn't meet the qualifications in time.
So this is the second one?
This is going to be the second one. We had to move to the second highest score in that process.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Karen, will you clarify that that's going to be on the agenda at 7 o'clock?
Okay, yes, that will be on the agenda for 7 o'clock because we had to bring this contract back to council since we had to move to the next bidder. Okay.
All right. Councilwoman Willis.
Did we get a new financial system or something? Because we're not getting the emails for when we make finance purchases like we used to with the, what was the?
Edmonds.
You mean your P card?
IntelliLink?
Yes, IntelliLink.
Yes, we did. We actually, about a week or so ago, when you receive your new P cards, we actually switched over to the ESP. That's going to be a new system. So where we used to have to go into 2 different systems to handle P cards, we're going to have one. And so everyone should have received an email. If you didn't receive one, I'll make sure you get one so you can load your receipts.
So, okay, so what we used to do is go into IntelliLink, load receipts, where our LSs would go in because there was a check and balance process in place. We would turn in our receipts, the receipts would get loaded, and then we would get an email within 48 hours to go in and approve those receipts that were loaded. But in order for us to approve it, there was a person in your office that went in and did all of the confirmations to make sure our expenditures was in compliance with the P-card policy. And once they approved, then we would get an email to go in IntelliLink and approve. So I know I've had several purchases and I've talked with my LS and he said he's loaded things, but I'm not getting anything to go in and approve. And so I just want to make sure from a finance perspective, is there any way that we can get and a notification or update on the new policy and how we go in and approve things?
Yes, I'll make sure we get that, because the way it's going to take place now is once the receipts are loaded and coded, we're going to actually have our budget analyst go in to make sure that those account numbers are correct, and then it will go to the approvers. So we're working out the process just to make sure that we get all that set up. So I'll make sure I follow up with our representative at Truist.
Right, so before there was what was Carrie's role?
Carrie was actually the finance purchasing analyst, and so that's what she would do. She would go in and verify that the receipts have all been attached and they were correct.
Okay, so now you're going to have the budget analyst do it?
Right.
Okay. I just don't want to get, because right now, I know this is December, and I haven't seen any receipts probably since October. I don't want to get behind on it.
Okay.
And then the other thing is the transaction report usually lag like 30 days behind from so I keep two things. I keep a cash balance on a spreadsheet, and that usually lags 30 days behind on the transaction detail budget. But the transaction detail budget, according to my LS, when he pulled it, the transactions haven't been posted to that. And I know on your end, it takes somebody to go in and key in that information correct.
Well, what they have to do is download the transaction. So with the Truist new system, we will be able to download those transactions whenever we get ready, along with the account numbers. So we can post them whenever we get ready to do it. So we'll be able to do it a little bit sooner than what's been happening in the past.
Okay, because when my LS went and pulled that report, he said he didn't see my transactions.
And that's for October, correct?
He said he hasn't seen them. The last time he pulled it was last week.
Okay.
And he had to go back and pull. I don't want to misquote him, but he said he hadn't seen the transactions.
Okay.
And so I try to reconcile my budget every month, because I don't like to wait till the end of the year. And Ms. Sally Jones, so these seem to be positive changes, but the thing is, we need to be trained and we need to be updated when stuff like that happens, because we get questions, and people put out lies and misinformation about our budget, and we're not able to answer it accurately when we can't pull stuff and reconcile stuff and we can't see stuff. And so if it's possible, I know after the holidays, can you please work with staff to get our LSs and the council trained on the new system?
Yeah, I don't see that being a problem.
Okay.
We can do that.
Yes.
And in the meantime, can our LSs, who do we want them to go to get this information updated?
They can just email me, and I'll reach out to your LS as well.
Okay.
Because we're going to make sure, too, they get the document that was sent to us from Truist. We just needed to get all the P cards issued, and we was trying to get that done. Then we were going to do a training with everybody.
And can you please make sure that the persons that you're issuing the P cards to sign that document?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Yes,
You know what
doing
document
that.
I'm talking about?
Yes, ma'am,
Okay,
we're doing
thank
that.
you.
Yes.
I have a question.
Councilman Reeves?
Yes, thank you. I want to go back to the ARPA funds, and here it says that the total was 1.1. Hello? Okay. That the total was 1.115,
That's correct.
and that we had given an award to the community food bank.
I apologize for that. My notes were incorrect, because it actually was, the way I have it listed here, that's at 15,000 food and security fund. So we haven't actually issued any to the Atlanta Food Bank. That was something that was forthcoming, but then when we went back in history, it was never completed.
Oh, so it was, okay, because what was that amount?
I don't have that amount before me, but it was the former purchasing manager started that process back the early part of the year, and things didn't go through, so that particular project was actually scrapped.
Okay, so it scrapped the project.
Yes.
Okay, because I think we allocated $100,000 for that program, and it was about 200,000 total, and that other 100,000 was going to go out to the RFP for the other providers. Is that not accurate?
I'll have to look up that information because I don't have that actual document in my, here with me, but I can look that up and let you know. So I'm gonna make a note to look into that.
Yeah, if you could, I would appreciate it. I just need
Okay.
clarification on that. Thank
All
you.
right.
Coming to you, Councilwoman Willis.
$100,000 was awarded publicly to Atlanta Community Food Bank. We did a proclamation for them when we gave them that $100,000. We used $10,000 last year for the turkey giveaway, and we used another $10,000 this year to purchase for the citywide Thanksgiving giveaway. Per the direction of the city manager.
Yeah, and we should have another remaining $100,000 for food insecurity efforts.
And was that to go out to bid as well?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right.
We haven't gone out for bid yet, but the intent is that we will go out for bid for vendors for that remaining $100,000.
Ms. Sandler Jones, if I correct, the purchasing manager, the former purchasing manager that was terminated, did put a bid out, but it was incorrect.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so now it has to be done correctly. Thank you.
Thank you for the clarification.
And the $10,000 that was used for this past November, that will be on my November's report as well.
Councilman Sebastian.
Thank you for recognizing me, sir. I do have a point of clarification. Are you saying that the $100,000 that we did give to the food bank was used up?
No, that was incorrect. We did not use it. It was started out as a bid, and that bid was not correct. So that particular bid process was canceled. So now we need to go back out for another bid.
So we never actually
Never.
gave them any money?
No, we did not.
Okay, thank you.
I'll tell you what, just so we can
We
keep
need to
this-
sort that out.
Yeah,
Thank you.
just so we can keep this moving, I'm going to ask if in your next report, could you just
Okay.
bring us an accounting, maybe a one-page of
Okay,
where everything is gone and where
Right.
where everything is.
okay.
I want to ask you to bring two more things forward in your next report. The first is the amount that we collected in occupational taxes in FY 2021 and FY 2022, to just see if those are increasing. And then lastly, we have been getting several calls in the mayor's office about these false alarm tickets. A couple of residents have said they've received as many as 6 tickets. So is there a way that, or not is there a way, will you also bring us just a general accounting of how much revenue we are generating in false alarm fines?
Okay, I'll get with the police department because I do believe they handle that, but I'll bring that back to you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Clerk, please sound the next item.
Next item is listed as number 3, City Manager Monthly Report. It's presented by Tammi Sadler-Jones, City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. The report for the city manager's office is dated December the 8th, and it was sent out to you previously, so hopefully you've had an opportunity to look at it. But I did want to highlight just a few items. If you had an opportunity to go to any of our city facilities last week, we were able to do our Card My Yard signs for our employees, where we recognize them for the all-stars and heroes that they are. So we're very proud that we were able to get that project completed, and I want to thank Ms. Corinne Smoot for her efforts in getting that done. I wanted to also highlight for you that the Southwest Arts Center will be hosting the Holiday Market and Kwanzaa celebration. The annual Holiday Market will be on Saturday, December the 17th from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. And then the annual Kwanzaa celebration will be Thursday, December the 29th. Our Code Enforcement Department, they are partnering with Kids Are Essential Foundation and giving away toiletries, coats, and hygiene products for children in need. So far, they've raised over $1,500 in donations, And we're very proud of the work that they are doing for this very worthy cause. I wanted to also highlight that our Code Enforcement Department did do 6 citations regarding violations for our shopping cart retrieval ordinance that was done. They are trying to crack down on making sure that our various stores are keeping up with all of the shopping carts, and those carts are not being abandoned in our city. And again, this is another one of our ordinances that we're trying to make sure that we are in compliance for. The Rental and Mortgage Assistance Program, we have 2 areas of funding, CDBG and the American Rescue Plan. And we hope to have the CDBG portion of the Rental and Mortgage Assistance Program rolled out before the end of this year. Our Community Development Director and Ms. Smoot are working on this. And then, of course, as we mentioned earlier, the American Rescue Plan, we have the vendor on the agenda for 7 p.m. today to administer that program for us. And we have allocated, the council, you all approved $1.4 million for the Rental and Mortgage Assistance Program. Wolf Creek Amphitheater, the RFP, staff is working on that for the production management. It is under review by our risk manager and our legal department. They may have completed that by now, but we do want you to know that we are making every effort to get the RFPs out. And as we mentioned at the last meeting last month, anybody who is interested in doing business with the city, you can go on our main page, which is www.cityofsouthfultonga.gov, and click on bids/solicitation. That is the link to see all of our bids for the city of South Fulton. I wanted to jump over to our strategic goals. On page 3, media relations. We wanted to focus on, again, trying to share the good news about the things that we're doing in the city of South Fulton. Our strategic goal number 3, increase community collaboration and quality of life. We had a littering news story that came out on Fox 5, WSB, Steve Harvey Morning Show, and the South Fulton Neighbor. Bishop Road landfill, the updates about that were also covered by WSB and Atlanta News First. Technology concerning house fires, again, goal number 3, that was on Fox 5, WSB, 11 Alive, Atlanta News First, and the South Fulton Neighbor. Our Thanksgiving food drive got a lot of positive coverage. That was on Atlanta News First, Atlanta Journal-Constitution, and again, we were able to feed over 1,000 families last month. And we know that we are trying to address speeding issues in our city. There is a story that is planning to come out on 11 Alive regarding how we are addressing that. That date is yet to be determined. And then, of course, holiday safety tips. Our communications and public affairs department is working also with 11 Alive. And that one is yet to be determined, but we're trying to get out safety tips for the holiday. I do want to yield some of my time to our Economic Development Director, Artie Jones. He's going to talk to you about the property on Campbell Drive that we purchased through the URA funds. But before he comes up, I do want to thank each of you for your thoughts and prayers regarding my husband, Lamar. He had a heart attack 2 weeks ago, but thank God he is doing very well, and I really do appreciate my City of South Fulton family, how you reached out via phone, via text, via email. So thank you so much.
Good
Mr.
evening.
Jones.
All right. Thank you, Madam City Manager. Good evening, Mayor, Council, visitors, and residents of the City of South Fulton. On this evening, I'm going to provide you with an update of the renovation of 4800 Campbell Drive. A lot of people call it the Blue House. It's located in District Number 3 in the Red Oak area. You guys approved in FY23 about $800,000 for the renovation of this particular building. On this evening, I have with me Randy Zegg and also Mr. Marcus Dunlap of Zegg and Associates. They're the architects that are working on this particular project. They specialize in the architecture of historic structures. They did a lot of work in the city of College Park as well as East Point and all over, the state of Georgia. What I'd like to do first is provide each of you with a detailed copy of my presentation. This is hot off the presses. Even the information that you have in your packets, you don't have the information that's in this particular packet, and I'm going to hand. And also a slideshow will be available to the general public, which will be played. Oh, it's already up. Sorry about that. Mr. Zayek and Marcus will be here to address any questions that I might not be able to answer that are technical in nature. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and kick things off. The first page of the presentation is basically a site plan, an as-built. As you can see, 4800 Campbell Drive, the building is in the bottom left-hand corner, and then you'll see kind of a rectangle around the building area. What that is actually denotes the area that is actually cleared. So that right now, there's only probably about 25% of the property that is actually cleared that the building actually sits on. So 75% of the property is actually available for clearing and redevelopment. And as you can see, the property is pretty level for the most part. The next page, you'll see what we've come up with as far as a design for the overall site. You'll see we have 25 parking spaces. Your top right-hand corner, we have an outdoor classroom area that's on the top right. I'm sorry, the top left-hand corner is the parking spaces. The top right is an outdoor classroom which can seat 75 people. Just below that is a community garden area where there are 20 plots set up. There's also a multi-use facility in the oval area that can actually house a tent area. This would be like a grass lawn area, very flat. You can set a tent up there. You can have an event for up to about 120 to 150 people for outdoor type events. And also there is the building itself. As we looked at this project overall, we wanted this not only to be a Main Street office for the Main Street manager, but we also wanted to be a space where the community could gather together for events, a space that could be utilized for weddings, family reunions, a space that also can be utilized for business people as office space and also nonprofits. And as we looked at the overall building, the interior of it, we realized that with the building itself, that there were certain issues and concerns that needed to be addressed because there wasn't a lot of usable space, as we will get to in the presentation. And then also at the bottom of this, on the second page, you'll see where there's parking spaces that's between the building and also Spring Street. This would be for handicap accessibility and also for staff. Next page. The next page is an as-built. This is how the building currently stands. This is what you walk into today. As you can see, you come up the steps from the left-hand side. There's the front porch area. There's a reception area time you enter on your left, and then there's an office to your right. There's a fireplace on each side. And then as you go further, there's a conference room to the middle of the building on the left. And then there is an office and a kitchen area to the right. And then, of course, the stairway is right in the middle of the building. And then right at the end of the building, on the right-hand side of your page, you will see that there is kind of restroom facilities and closet space. It looks like, I feel that it was probably an addition to the building. It was not an original portion of the building. It's kind of in bad shape. But this is currently how the building currently stands. Next page. This is what we anticipate, this is what we would like to do to the building. As you enter, you would still enter the building from the left-hand side, the front, which was Campbell Drive. There's the existing porch, which would stay the same. As you entered the building, there would be a reception area to your left. There would be a director's workspace or a manager's space there that could be locked off from the building. Just beyond that, on the left-hand side, there is going to be a conference space there that would seat up to 40 people. This room can also be divided because there would be some type of curtain that would be to be able to divide this building in two. To the left, there's conference staging area, and then also there would be a warming kitchen. This kitchen wouldn't be for hardcore cooking, but it would be a space where catered food could be brought in, it could be kept in warmers, and then there would also be refrigerator space there, and also sinks and stainless tables, and a dishwasher. And then as you go towards the back of the building, the area where the restrooms was located, that would be torn off, and it would be rebuilt where the stairway, which was in the middle of the building, would now be on the left-hand side of the building towards the rear of the property. And then there would be handicap accessible restrooms, 3 of them that would actually be constructed in this particular area. The stairway would be available. The stairway would lead to the second floor. You could actually enter the stairway directly from outside, or you could enter the stairway from inside the building also. And then you will see that on the front of the building, there's the existing porch, but if you look down to the bottom left-hand side, you'll see that there is a porch, and this is a covered porch area. And the covered porch actually wraps all the way around the building in and it makes the porch to be a U shape around, 3 sides of the building. This could be outdoor seating area. This could also be an additional area where people could gather for events. Currently in this area, on the bottom of on the Spring Street side of the building, there's currently a handicap accessible ramp that would be removed. The handicap accessible ramp would be located towards the rear of the building, which I'll show you that in the next slide. Okay, the next page you will see, this is the second floor of the building, currently as it sits. This is it as built. The stairway, of course, is in the middle of the building, so this isn't workable space. There is a lot of what's up here that you see right now is attic space. It's not usable space. There's a director's office or a management office upstairs. There's also several smaller spaces that really are not functional because of where they're located. If you turn to the next page, you'll see what we anticipate to do to the second floor. Of course, the stairway is towards the rear of the building on the right-hand side, the top right-hand side of the slide. Once you come up the stairs, there will be a number of offices, smaller offices, that will be located at the rear of the building. This is a small addition. This can be used for additional office spaces. As you come upstairs and you walk to your right, you'll see that there's additional storage space and a copy room. And as you continue down the corridor, there's a common workspace area where the sofas could be set up, where it could be a room where people could kind of sit and kind of relax. And then just above that would be an additional conference room. Just imagine that this space is available for smaller businesses, nonprofit organizations, artists to be up in this particular area. The office space that is on the right-hand side of the slide, this particular space can be blocked off from the rest of the building. So even after hours, if someone wanted to access their building, access their space, they would be able to come upstairs and be able to utilize it, and they would not have access to the rest of the building. As we work our way past the common area and past the conference room, there's a reception conference area, and then there's a director's office or a manager's office. We just gave these offices names. This is not in stone, but we just gave these offices names just for the sake of being able to kind of imagine what this could be. If we turn to the next page, this is simply the roof plan, which is way above my pay grade. That's for the architects to talk about. But the roof would actually be expanded. And if we go to the next page, this is another roof site plan. But let's make our way to the elevations, the colored elevations. What you see in front of you right now is a view of the building from Campbell Drive, if you're looking at it from the, I'm sorry, my bad. This is the rear of the building. This is the rear of the building. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to have a porch that's going to wrap around three sides of the building. Well, this is the rear porch area that would actually be covered. And the thing is that the back door, if you were to open the back door of this building, you'd be able to see clear to the front of the building. On the bottom of the page, you'll see the rear elevation of the as-built. And then, of course, right above it is what we're looking at actually developing. The next page is the right side elevation. This is what you would see from Spring Street if you were parked on Spring Street or standing on Spring Street. This is that same porch. There's the handicap accessible ramp also in this area, and there's the covered porch area on the front. As you can imagine people that are having an event on the inside and then they want to come outside and get fresh air. Well, that's what this is for. And then on the bottom of the page is the rear elevation without the addition. This is the as-built. This is what we actually will see if you were to drive by there today. Next page is the right side elevation of the building. This particular side this is what the building actually looks like. It is existing. And this is like a view from Spring Street. The rear elevation of the building. This is what you will actually see. This is actually the restrooms that's on the rear of the building. The left side elevation, which is on the bottom of the page. This is what's existing. This is what you would see basically from the lot that's next door where the home exists. And then the front elevation on the bottom right-hand corner is where is currently what you will see if you were to visit the site. I wanted to provide you guys with an update of where we are right now. The very next steps in this project is by the end of January or February, we would have this particular project priced out, and it would be priced out in such a way. This is kind of our wish list of what we would like to do. More than likely, we probably have, champagne taste, but we're going to have to, you may have to settle with something a little bit less. But once we get the pricing back, there would be an RFP package that would be put together by Zag and Associates, and an RFP would be placed out to get bidders for this particular project. And then I would come back before the city council at that time to share with them those particular bids and how you all would like to proceed, what you would like to maybe add to or take away from the project. I'm here to address any questions that you might have, and any questions that I can't address. Randy and Marcus are here also to assist.
Madam City Manager, did you have something?
No, just one more other comment, but he can get finished first.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Councilman Willis.
Thank you for this presentation. Just to give council history of this, this is a property that I worked along with the former city manager and a former mayor to purchase from the Fulton County Housing Authority. This was a property of the Housing Authority. We're able to get this property for a little over $150,000. It is a historical. It is a historical property that has been in District 3 for a very long time. The original plans for this was for it to be the District 3 Community Police Precinct. And then it was proposed to me to make it the Main Street Economic Development Office in combination with a community police precinct. So we decided to turn the current Collab South office to the District 3 Police Precinct, and the traffic unit will be operating out of that office. And that Collab South office is currently in District 3. But that was supposed to be a temporary location. So have we abandoned the idea to put any police precinct in this structure?
I think right now the plan was to make this structure solely the economic development, and that the Collab South location would remain strictly dedicated for the police department.
As long as my District 3 residents are fine with it, I'm fine with it.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with it. I just thought that that Collab South office was supposed to be a temporary location. That was my understanding.
Well, I know that the Economic Development Department was not gonna move back there.
Well, I know you all weren't going to move back there, but I know that I was told that it was, this house was going to be a community police precinct and the Main Street office. And what I'm saying, as long as my residents don't have a problem with it, I don't have a problem with it, because what was reported to my residents is that that was going to be a police precinct. Things evolve, plans evolve. And what I would like is a rendering so that we can go to the community and make sure they're okay with it, which I'm pretty sure I have a strong pulse of District 3 residents. I would prefer for the police precinct to stay where it is, because that's where I'm having most of my, it's not high crime issues, but crime incidents with loitering and everything. So I'm fine with it as long as the city plans to maintain that lease there for that precinct to operate out of that area. Is that where you all are going?
Yes, ma'am.
Or where you all are
Well,
proposing?
Yes, that's what we proposed, but I know Chief Meadows hasn't gotten here yet. He is en route, but it was my understanding that we were going to use that location pretty much long-term for the police precinct.
Okay, and respectfully, I would have liked to been privy of that conversation, that this was going to be a long-term plan, not a temporary solution being, brought to me right here. I was aware of the Economic Development Department going there. I was fine. The Main Street program going there, I was fine. But it was told to me, it was my understanding that it was going to be like a co-project, and that police precinct was going to be a temporary solution. I don't have a problem if it's a long-term solution. I just want to be given the opportunity to speak to my residents and give them updated information, and I would like this stuff emailed to me, and I would like it, some renderings blown up so they can see what it is now, because it is not in the best condition now, and then what it's going to be.
Okay, I can definitely provide that information to you. As a matter of fact, I can email that information to you from this meeting, and then I'll also work on getting some expanded, blown-up copies for your constituency. And I could even come to the meeting to talk more in detail about.
Oh, I plan to invite you. And just for future references, I just would like to be, if there are any deviations from what was discussed with me, Ms. Adler Jones, I just would like to be respectfully updated instead of being, being told like this. My residents are not going to have a problem. I have a pretty good pulse with them, but, I just like to have heads up in case if there is a problem, I can know how to, if I'm asked questions, I can know how to respond.
Okay.
I don't think, just based on my residents, it's going to be a huge problem, because they knew changes were coming and they knew we were going to renovate that house. And so I just want to make sure that we stay on the same page. That's all.
Okay.
And that, at the same time, it's probably my fault, because I kind of misunderstood. I didn't know that the police precinct was a short-term
That's what was told to me. But if it's going to be long-term that they're staying in that Wayfield Plaza, I don't have a problem with it, because that's where they need to be. But just as long as there's a long-term plan for them to stay there, and that's not a temporary solution.
Okay.
All right.
Councilwoman Williams.
Yes. Is this on? Yes, thank you, Mayor. First, thank you for the presentation, and my questions may actually be for the architects.
Okay.
In looking at the plans. My first question is, am I overlooking an elevator in the building? And then my second question is, why do we have our otherwise abled residents entering from the back and not from the front?
Sir? And would you please state your name?
My name is Randall Zake. I'm an architect. I reside in East Point, Georgia. Of course, we naturally want to accommodate absolutely as many people as we can. And of course, the intention in accommodation is that on every level, there are equal opportunities. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go to every level, but for instance, if there are the same sort of functions on the ground level that are on the second level, then the second level, it's not required, for instance, by law to have an elevator in every building that's multi-storied. Let me put it that way. An elevator certainly could be added. It would be probably over $100,000 to do it. So we felt like we had a much larger and more and plenty of adequate space in the main level to have the same or similar activities that would go upstairs. So we didn't feel like there would be any lack of accommodation in that sense on both levels. However, certainly we're open to, make any changes that you feel are appropriate. And as far as the back of the building, we did have quite a discussion about that because we're trying to make this building so that it really doesn't have a quote-unquote front and a back, because the back end is being developed to the point where it's actually probably going to be more of the front, because you've got your community area, which is a large open grassy field. So we see really this as a building that kind of goes both ways as far as the front and the back door, because people come from the parking lot, and that's really going to be more accommodating coming from that side. But so that, as you enter the back building, it's really like entering the main door. So that was something that we tried to do. Whenever you're dealing with a historic building, there are certain allowances that you make in trying to, do the best you can for ADA accommodation. And the way we tried to do that was to make the building neutral in terms of the entrances on both sides.
Okay. I think I would be interested in seeing specs that include an elevator, simply because while I understand what you're saying, and it makes sense to me, our residents are probably not going to have that same understanding. And so as people begin to utilize the building, I can see that question coming up, and complaints coming in about otherwise abled residents not being able to access the second floor.
Sure.
And them not understanding the technical details of a neutral building, no real front, back, or whatever. What people in the public will see is a second floor they can't access.
That's correct, and we'd be happy to do that. And that's really the purpose of these drawings, is for actually to get your input.
Mm-hmm.
We made our best judgments based on our initial conversations and thoughts, but that's why this is the first round, and we look forward to making those changes. So we'd be happy to add the elevator.
Yep. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Councilman Sebastian.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. How many parking spots are you accounting for on this site? And is there a bus line that's close by?
The nearest bus line is on Roosevelt Highway, which is probably a 1/10 of a mile. And there's 25 parking spaces in the main parking lot, and then there's 5 additional spaces off of Spring Street, which are, I think most of those are handicap accessible, two parking spaces for staff, and 3 for handicap accessible
So for
spaces.
events, people will still be able to park on the main road?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's the only question I have.
Councilwoman Willis?
I agree with Councilmember Williams. As long as the council will give me the support to pay for an elevator, I would love to have an elevator in that house. It is a house. It's a 2-story house. Most houses don't have elevators. But being that this will be a city facility and there will be a conference room upstairs, and and this will be a citywide building, not only accessible to residents that are not disabled. If the council is willing to give me an extra $100,000 to put an elevator in, I would love to see 2 sets of plans, one with the elevator and one without an elevator. And this also is on the bus route of Washington Road, not only Roosevelt, surrounded by bus lines. And now that Chief Meadows is here, can we ask him that question?
Yes, ma'am, we sure can.
Do you mind, Ms. Sally Jones, if I ask? So
Don't
this Blue House, the plans, I understood it to be a community sharing place for economic development and police, and the Collab South location where we're putting the new precinct was supposed to be a temporary solution. So I was just told that we're going to look at that more so of a long-term solution, which I don't have a problem with, because I prefer y'all to stay in that plaza, because y'all don't have to worry about me calling y'all, asking y'all to go.
Somebody's parked on the fire lane.
Right. So, and the long-term solution is to make that more of a Main Street economic development and place where we can have work sharing space for small businesses.
Right. Well, as you're aware, we had been working with Fulton County, Councilwoman, because you were part of the discussions with us. There's some discussion also about giving us the historic fire station that's there as well. And so one of the things we were thinking about long-term, because there's 3 acres of land around that facility, for us to be able to do a multi-use complex there that would include the police department long-term. I think that our goal has to be to start owning our facilities as opposed to leasing. And so we still would like to have a presence in that shopping plaza, because as you said, we constantly having problems there. But if we use that as a long-term solution, then we believe that we can start trying to condition the behavior associated with that particular facility over time. And so hopefully long-term we'll be able to get a more stable facility there in the Red Oak community. But as I'm sure Mr. Jones stated, that is a long-term view for us.
Okay. And so Ms. Sally Jones, can we have after the holidays, a discussion around that fire station that's in my district too? Because I've been approached by 2 other ideas, and I just want to make sure that we stay on the same page with that. But I'm okay with the new plans. I was just telling Ms. Sally Jones, I just wish that I was updated with the new strategy, because I was.
I got
okay.
you.
All right. Thank you.
Councilwoman Gums?
So I definitely agree with having access to the second floor. But is it my understanding that those were the offices and temporary office space for employees, or if someone wanted to come in and do what? I think how I'm reading it, the concept was for you all to have spaces downstairs. Is there a conference room downstairs as well?
Yes, ma'am.
And then in the second level, it would be for employees, or if anybody wanted to, I guess, temporary workspace.
Yeah, there's flexibility upstairs. There would be employee workspace upstairs also in the main office that is, I guess, towards the front of the building, the current front of the building. But towards the back of the building, we were looking at that being like a small business space, multiple spaces for small businesses or artists or something. We're not sure of what that is right now, but we have it designed in such a way that that particular part of the building can be locked off from the remainder of the building, so that even after hours, those small business people would be able to get into, you know, be able to ingress and egress out of the building space to do whatever they needed to do.
Well, I definitely think that is a good idea, but also maybe possibly adding wheelchair access from the front of the building as well. Did you? So they have the ramp. So inside, instead of necessarily maybe an elevator, because that could be costly, could you have a way to where, I guess you know how sometimes you have access for a similar just ramp or something to go up instead of having an elevator or something like that? Yes, you can.
If you actually look where the ADA parking is, it's sort of a bridge that goes from the parking really to the center of the side of the building. So it's really right in the middle of going to the back or the front. So by virtue of having this continuous porch that we have, as an ADA person accesses that porch, they can go front or rear. It's really virtually in the center. So it's not really at the front or in the back. And especially with the historic property, what we try to do is not have an ADA ramp with a building attached.
Okay.
Getting any kind of a ramp to the second floor, I think, would be just, you know, very,
No,
very
I'm not saying
long.
from the outside.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is inside. You know how sometimes you have, I don't even know how to really explain it, but just kind of like because what if there are some employees that are disabled and, you know, instead of going, how about this? What other alternatives would you have versus having an elevator?
I'm really not aware of any that would work well or be cost effective. They have lifts, but they tend to be just about as much as an elevator, virtually the same thing as an elevator. So I think, you know, if you want to have access up there, an elevator is going to be the way to go with it.
Okay.
And because it's now going from a residential use to a commercial, that's when you're into a commercial grade elevator, and that's where the cost comes in.
Okay.
So.
I'm going to ask, for the sake of time, I think that there's going to be some more conversations about this house. The city manager does have another item. We have questions about the city manager's report, and then we have a quarterly public works report. And it was my hope that we might get in some executive session time, since our meeting will be running till about 10:30 tonight. So if we could, if it would be all right with the council, if we could just move to close out your city manager's report and then go to right. And we're going to have her close out her report, then we're going to take questions and go on to the quarterly public works report.
Yes, and Mayor, that report for Public Works is actually monthly. That was a vote of the council that be done monthly.
Now.
Yes.
Okay.
And my only comment was, last but not least, we want to welcome our new council person, Ms. Linda Pritchett. The staff and I look forward to working with you, and working for your constituents in District 7. And so again, we just want to say congratulations and welcome to you. So that's all I had, Mayor, and I'll take any questions.
All right, questions for the city manager?
So are we having a public works report or not?
You are having a public works report. It's next.
Okay, well, the only thing that I would ask Ms. Jones is that, or my question is, for the RFPs that go out, do we have the same capability? I don't want to go out and register to do business with the city, because I know I can't legally do business with the city. Mm-hmm. So we need to find a way that when RFPs go out, that the elected officials are notified so that we can govern ourselves accordingly, because I have found RFPs have been out. I didn't know that an RFP was active, and people have come to me, and I didn't know that we had an active RFP, and I should be telling these people, you can't talk to me about this because it's an RFP. But I don't have any way of knowing if I'm not notified.
Yeah, I know that there was a request that we have the council notified, and we were going to be working with your LSs to make sure that they are aware when we have RFPs. And from my understanding, there's language in the RFP that should be explaining to these vendors that they are not to talk to any staff other than the purchasing department. So
There is language, but vendors will be vendors.
Well,
And so what I'm saying is that to protect myself, there's also language in the charter that says, and our policies that says that we are not supposed to be interacting with vendors during a quiet period. That's in our that's in our policy, so that we can make sure we govern ourselves accordingly. When RPs go out, do they notify you, the city manager, that RPs are going live?
I mean, sometimes I know, depending on what the RFP is and what the level of detail it is, but most of them, I try not to even get involved in them myself.
Okay.
But we can communicate that.
So do I need to amend the purchasing policy to mandate that whenever RP goes live, that the city manager and elected officials needs to be notified via email? Because we want to make sure that we are doing what we're supposed to do. I know the vendors are notified, but we also have a policy that says when a RP goes live, there's a quiet period.
Right.
But I want to make sure that how am I supposed to know that there's an RP live if I don't know, if I'm not being notified in any way?
Yeah, and again, as I mentioned, we can make sure that we communicate that to you. You know, we are actually trying manager position. Ms. Slaton Dixon, hopefully we will have somebody in place, but that will be one of the things that we will make sure that it's communicated to you all. But we will make every effort to ensure that that is told to the council.
Okay, I appreciate it. Mr. Hyman, can we please, I would like to bring forth in the purchasing policy, I'm requesting on record that you amend the purchasing policy, and I would like to have it on the first regular council meeting to include notification to city manager's office and elected officials when RFPs go live.
It is actually in our purchasing policy. Generally, that role falls under the purchasing director. So I just shot the city manager a note to say perhaps maybe the finance director in the interim could provide notice because the procurement division is under her department. And so, but it is already written in the procurement policy about them notifying council.
Right, it's in the procurement policy that it talks about the quiet period. I know because I co-sponsored it. What I'm asking is that we update that policy to say that council and the city manager's office is notified immediately when an RFP goes live via email.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And I would like to see that on the first council meeting of the year. Thank you.
All right, is there, Councilwoman Pritchard, were you in the queue? Okay, Councilwoman Gomes.
City Manager, I thank you for your update for the rental and mortgage assistance. Can you verify when is that date or when is the applications going to be available? Or did you even say that?
At the end of the month.
The end of the month?
Well, the one for the CDBG, we said we hope to have live before the end of this year.
The rental and mortgage assistance?
Yes, the CDBG funded one. Yes.
Okay. And the one that the city is doing, when is that one?
That's the one for the American Rescue Plan.
Uh-huh.
When do we think? Maybe after the beginning of the year?
Yeah, we might need to just add clarification. As the city manager mentioned, we have two programs. And so the CDBG program is going to be initiated by city staff. So Ms. Smoot and I will be working on that, and that's what Ms. Sala-Jones is talking about as it relates to getting underway before the end of the year. Once we get the contractor under contract for the American Rescue Plan, which is the $1.4 million, and if I failed to mention, the CDBG program we got funding for was from Fulton County. So it's for $330,000. We expect to only be able to provide assistance to a handful of people. Not that many will be impacted, but we're trying to get that underway and spend that money as quickly as possible. The other program, we will probably not be able to initiate until after the new year.
So the ARPA funds, you won't be able to initiate till after the new year.
Yes.
Will it be the same contractor? Because someone was awarded for the 1.4 million for the rental mortgage assistance. This is the secondary program that we're speaking about that won't be administered until 2023.
Correct.
So the company that is administering the funds for the CBG,
We're doing that in-house.
you're doing that in-house?
Yes.
Okay. It's a little confusing. And I'm just trying to figure out why it's so confusing.
So there are two different funding sources.
Yes.
One is from the Treasury Department, which is the ARP funding, 1.4 million. We initially had selected a vendor back in May. It had to go back out for rebid.
And we've awarded that bid.
We awarded that bid.
Okay.
That person was deemed non-responsive, so Finance Department is bringing back a second item tonight to award the contract to the second highest respondent to the RFP, which is
Okay.
Answer. And so upon council's approval, we will then contact them to initiate the program.
So they will administer that 1.4 million,
Correct.
and we don't anticipate that until
Next year.
January next
Yes.
year. Okay, and as far as for the funds that you will be administering towards the end of the year, what kind of communication are we gonna get out to the residents for that?
So our communications director, Mr. Leffridge, has already prepared the press release. We were just waiting until we were able to launch the program.
Okay.
So we already have it ready to go. And in fact, I think Ms. Smoot isn't here because she's finalizing the documents for the CDBG program.
She's right
She is
behind
here.
you. Yeah.
Okay, I just wanna
We had a
make sure.
conversation before, so she's wrapping up those documents, so they'll be ready to go. And we hope to have those, we have to have a meeting with Fulton County first, which we'll be meeting with them on Thursday to review the documents. But we should have those applications ready to go before Christmas, but certainly before the new year.
And they will be accessed online to get those applications on our city's website.
Yes, that's the
Okay.
only way to access the application.
I just want to make sure, because we've been getting phone calls, so I just want to make sure we tell our residents correctly.
Yes.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Pritchett.
I have a question. So you mentioned that there.
Go ahead and push that up button there.
I did? Okay.
Just don't speak low.
I'm soft spoken. So you mentioned that just probably, not a handful, but, you know, a handful of people would be receiving this funding. So does that mean that, is there a cap per individual?
Yeah, we're going to have specific regulations. When we initially got this grant, and this council probably can remember better than I, back in 2021, there are certain provisions that we have to follow that were outlined by Fulton County. They have a community development department that administers CDBG funds, much like the city does. And so we were one of several Fulton County cities that received funding to assist our residents. The impetus for this, however, has to be that you have had a life-altering event as it relates to COVID-19. So if you were impacted in some way, form, or fashion, meaning you lost your job, your hours were reduced, then we can potentially qualify you, if you are eligible income, to receive funds. And this is a citywide program, so it doesn't matter if you're living in an eligible CDBG census tract. That might be too much information, but it's a citywide program. But there is a cap, and I don't know it offhand, but there is a cap in terms of how much assistance. The funding that we have for this particular program, however, is only $330,000. So we expect to administer this program probably within the next 2 to 3 months, just because of the limitation of funding.
So is there a time period that, that you're looking at? You had a financial impact, COVID-related, 2020, 2021, 2022. Is there a time frame which a person would fall into for that, or is it just open to a COVID-related situation?
So Councilwoman, the purpose of this program is to help people who are in arrears, either in their mortgage or their rent. So that's part one. You have to be in arrears with your mortgage or rent. Part two for our consideration is you have to be an individual that has been impacted by COVID. Either you have lost your job, there's a reduction of hours in your job, or some other mitigating factor that has caused a reduction of income in your household. And therefore, you have now gotten behind in terms of making your monthly rent or mortgage.
Do you also know what the turnaround time would be when someone, like a lot of people that are experiencing being in arrears, especially, well, either renters or homeowners, where they're facing either foreclosure / dispossessory or evictions. And what I have heard that happens with some people is when they're facing an eviction and they're accepted in this program, the check isn't going to be cut immediately, and the person is still at risk of being evicted, although the check will eventually be cut and will cure the deficiency. Will there be anything in terms of, can we look at something that would legally help them to prevent a dispossessory? And I don't know if that's a question for the city attorney. If there's something legally that, upon acceptance, could help them. Because a lot of landlords will say, well, I'll take the check when it comes, but you're still going to get evicted.
So I'll answer that question from my perspective, and then I'll certainly allow the city attorney to respond. As it relates to the legality part of this, what we will do once we qualify an applicant is we will communicate with the landlord, the mortgage company, that documents have been submitted. We are currently reviewing all of the documents, and that, based upon our assessment, we will determine if the person is going to receive funding or not. Now, there is going to be a cap, and depending upon how much people are in arrears, whether for mortgage or rent, they may or may not be able to receive all the assistance. If a person is in arrears for a mortgage that, with fees, penalties, things that you might experience, and you're $25,000, $30,000, you're not going to be able to receive the full payment of that because that will exceed our threshold. But part of what our triage, and we will triage all the applications as they come in, is we will have a discussion as we review all of the application criteria and have a discussion with the landlord and or the mortgage company. But we don't get into the legalities of people being evicted from their house. That's kind of where we stop, because that is a legal proceeding between the occupant and the person who holds the mortgage or the lease.
The last statement was correct. Hello? The last statement that Mr. Holt made was correct, because some security deeds instruments may have we get to go straight to the courthouse provision in it without giving you further notice when you sign the documents at closing. If you're dealing with a private lease, depending on how that is structured, will depend on whether or not how much notice, how much additional time that you have. But Georgia is generally a non-self-help state, where you have to go through some process, but sometimes that process is front-loaded.
Thank you.
All right, Madam City Manager, I had a few quick questions. The first is, where are we on the transfer of the Jacobs property?
Mr. City Attorney, do you want to give that update? Thank you.
That actually part of that was going to be an executive session decision, and then we could come to a definitive conclusion on that.
Okay. The next question is, like unto it. Where are we with the land acquisition specialist? I think we have posted that job description.
Yes, it's posted, and we're already getting applicants.
All right, when was that posted?
Do you know the specific date?
No, it was before that.
Yesterday,
I
okay,
think it was-
December 12th.
It was before that.
Was it before that, or was it December 12th? It was December 12th.
And it was before that.
All right. I just want to put this on the record and perhaps ask for a plan, but I continue to hear from constituents that people are not answering the phones in City Hall, and I would like to see some sort of staffing plan. I know that some departments like police and fire just have a person, a receptionist, to answer phones for those departments, but there are other departments that don't seem to have them, particularly code enforcement, permits, business licenses, procurement, and those are people who end up, you know, at the mayor's office or in Mayor Monday saying that, you know, they've been calling around City Hall and they can't get someone on the phone. So I just want to reiterate that again. And then lastly, I'm sure it's probably in process, Mr. Strickland and City Clerk Corey Adams, but we do want to update our website to recognize our new councilwoman and her email, as well as our civics rec documents when we publish our agendas. That is it, and please sound the next item.
Question, Mr. Mayor?
I'm sorry?
I do have a quick question.
Go ahead, Council.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Vice.
I just want to clarify, Madam City Manager. If I have a missed call, it converts over to an electronic voicemail. Does that happen for every staff member and the main numbers into the city? Because I agree with the mayor, because just before I came here, I had a conversation with a resident who was trying to report a dead animal for a week. And they were very frustrated. They finally called me, and they were even more frustrated that they had to call me about it. So I'm trying to figure out why is it that they're saying they're calling and not getting a...
Well, what would help us if you can provide me with the phone number that they are calling, so, because I try to do my checks and balances too and call those phone numbers. But most of our employees who have a dedicated email address and a dedicated, if they're calling the office phone, it should roll over to a voicemail. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
But it would help if you can provide me with the phone numbers that they're calling.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Clerk, please sound to the next item, or the last. Councilwoman Gums.
Sorry for the last minute, but since we are talking about this and I've heard the same complaints, I know City Manager, you mentioned about customer service, I guess overhaul for the city of South Fulton, and those funds were going to come out of the city manager's budget. Where are we with that?
Actually, now that I have some help in my office, administrative help, we're working on those goals, and that was one of the goals that I had, is to do some customer service training through the assistance of our HR department. I don't have a vendor or a plan in place yet of how that's going to work out, but that is one of my goals to try to get worked out, maybe within the next 3 months.
Okay, because I was going to say, if there's a way that we can kind of kick that off in the new year, that is the ongoing theme, that the city doesn't answer their phones or we don't respond. And of course, you know, myself and probably the rest of the council, we want to build a responsive government. So
Absolutely.
if there is a way that we can really start focusing on that so that we can kind of change that narrative, that would be great.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Mr. Clerk, please sound the next item. And before you sound it, I do see people coming in, and we do have a 6 o'clock zoning hearing. So can people approach you now to get those public comment cards, or do we just want to just have people line up? We don't necessarily have to have people fill them out.
No, actually, we required to have
Okay.
a written, but they're on the outside table if anyone
Okay.
wants to fill out the speaker card for the zoning hearing and/or the regular meeting public comment.
Thank you. So yes, if you are here to make a public comment, please do fill one of those cards out before the meeting starts at 6 o'clock. And Mr. Clerk, go ahead and sound the next item.
Next item is number 4, Public Works Transportation Projects Report. And I believe the Director, Antonio Valenzuela, will be making that presentation.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council, City Manager, and residents of the City of South Fulton. Per the City Manager's announcement earlier on the Transportation Status Report for Public Works, you should have a report with you. This report is going to get better with time. This is the first report that we're pulling after a bit of time. We will make additional improvements to the report because it is very precise and concise report, but we'll make sure that it's very straight to the point and to the needs that you don't have to spend too much time when you read the report. With that said, I would like to cite for you a few key projects that the City of South Fulton and Public Works has accomplished, and we are moving, I believe, in the right direction. One of them is the Butner Road at Stonewall Hotel. We're looking to do a ribbon cut ceremony the second week of January. The project is almost completed. We should have all the paving completed if weather permits before the end of the week, and then we'll follow up with striping of the road. In the meantime, we're working also with Greystone. They are going to be doing the street light installations. So with that, the project is going to be ready for a ribbon cut ceremony that our communications team is working with you to set that date. The earlier that we get the responses, the more time that we will have to provide all the needed communications with others that I'm sure they want to attend this unique project that has a dual roundabout that I will say is one of the first projects being built in Georgia with 2 roundabouts. The second project that our residents and the council have requested for a long time, and we have worked with a developer as well. It is the Campbellton Road, Stonewall Hotel Road, the intersection realignment improvement. That it is tonight for your approval on the lowest, most responsive bidder. The second project that the community has been asked for a while is the Downford Road sidewalks. If I'm not mistaken, the ITB should open up next week. Another project that you all were talking with us with regards to going solar and so on. We have the Fire Station 6, where all the solar panels have been completed. We're looking forward to do as well some kind of ceremony as being the first project for the City of South Fulton. With regards to other ongoing projects, we have the Welcome All roof repairs here at the venue. As you can possibly smell some odor to paint. Unfortunately, that's the nature when you go into construction. The initial sandblasting of the roof trusses are completed. The welding is completed. Currently, the vendor is about 80 to 90% completed with priming the trusses. And right after, by the end of the week or early next week, they should start with actually painting the roof trusses. We are on the schedule. I will say that we're about ahead of the schedule. With regards to the Sandtown Mall remediation, the bids are out. We're looking forward to receive as many bids as necessary so we can finally start the mall remediation on other repairs that are needed at that venue. Another good point that we have promised to you, you have approved about 2 months ago speed readers installations. So we acquired those and installed 28 speed readers. We utilize, thanks to PD, the safety school zone funds when we purchased those speed readers that you had approved before. Another good thing for the City of South Fulton, and I'm looking forward to doing some kind of ceremony before the holidays, is that we have received the 2 street sweepers for the city. Those are housed now at Plummer Road, and we're looking to have the decals, and once those are installed, we'll do something, and we will invite you to some kind of ceremony. And finally, something that it happens when you are in this business, we have no control when unforeseen conditions occur, such as the Lac Lamont sinkhole that you might be aware of. We have sent you a report last week to our communications team. We plan on doing another report before this Friday. When it comes to repairs, it takes a bit of time to do the repairs, and we don't want to overpromise to you what we don't have control. But we've been working with the city of Atlanta and very diligently, and I believe that they are being good partners to us, with no issues, no problems. They have reacted very quickly. They have repaired some of the roads. Unfortunately, the culvert also was impacted. We have met with them yesterday, and we're going to provide the best resolution how to come back with a new culvert. So far, all the repairs, to include the culvert, are being paid by the city of Atlanta. With that said, that's all I have on this report, and I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
All right, first in the queue is Councilwoman Linda Pritchard.
Hello, Mr. Valenzuela.
How are you, ma'am?
Good. I'm sure that you're aware that there has been an approval for a traffic signal or traffic light at Highway 138 and Bethsaida Road. That was something that was worked on and collaborated with DOT.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't see that on your report, and so would that be something that you'll be following up or add it to your report as a project that we have going?
Yes, we can add that kind of project. Is not necessarily, it's just a traffic operational report, but we will add it. The project is in good conditions. They're moving along, has been approved. We have approved the permit. We can sign up on the new signal that we'll be maintaining. Georgia DOT is on the last steps on the design, and it's going to be just a temporary signal at that location. The actual project is going to be a roundabout at that location.
Do you know an estimated time where that will start? Or I think it's the RFP is coming next?
The ITV should be coming out because GDOT has done the design. So I will say that in the next 60 to 90 days, it should be going out. So the letting date should be early next year.
So I just want to make sure that we mention that this is going to be something really beneficial to that community because so many lives have been lost.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Because we didn't have that, but we're thankful.
Sure.
Thank you.
Councilman Sebastian.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your report, Mr. Valenzuela. It's very detailed and good, very good first step. Thank you very much. I noticed that the roundabouts for Demoni and Jones Road are on the very same report. Does that mean they're going to be constructed at the same time?
That is the plan of action that they have because Jones Road and Demoni are kind of close by. Mm-hmm. And I will say that that will be the best approach to interrupt traffic for possible 6-9 months than to do it 6 months here, another 6 months there. But ideally it will be, because it's very close by, both of them.
Because normally Jones Road would be the outlet if you don't use the money. Otherwise you have to find yourself through to one of these other side streets to get to South Fulton Parkway from there.
Most likely we will do, we haven't seen yet the construction phases, but we're going to recommend Georgia DOT to do a similar situation of what we've done for Butner Stone Hotel.
Yes.
The project was built in 3 phases. We never closed the road.
Yep. It's going to be very important that we keep the traffic flowing through there.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Thank you.
Dr. Rao.
Thank you for recognizing me. Couple of quick questions.
One of the things I'm very interested in, I know in terms of the T-SPLOST 2 list, District 1 has a lot of sidewalk projects. And so I know how long it's taken us for right-of-way acquisition, like for Danforth and New Hope, because they're loan closings. I would like the Public Works Department to begin that, because it could take a year and a half on those long streets where it's multiple parcels. Can you speak to that, what the plan is in terms, and I know that's, you know, we have a company that does that on behalf of the city, but.
Yes, ma'am. When it comes to acquire the rights way, especially when it comes to sidewalks, the main problem is that going out there and acquiring, perhaps in some cases, more of what you might need or less of what you might need, because we don't have proper cross sections, we don't have proper termini, we don't know exactly where we're going to be impacting the rights way, because if we have a fill or a cut, then in order to stay with design standards, we will have to actually come up to right-of-way plans approved by the city. But since we're using our T-SPLOST funds, we don't need to have approvals by others. So the design-wise, as soon as the design is at about 50%, we'll proceed with the rights-of-way acquisition for those projects.
So maybe at next month's meeting, can you provide an update as it relates to that, where we are in terms of design on any of those T-SPLOST sidewalks? Because my concern is that, you know, if, again, I want to say it took us at least a couple years, and we had to go to condemnation, I think, like on Danforth, that our T-SPLOST period is, 5 years. We're roughly a year in, that we might be challenged with getting that right away. So I hope we move closer on design so we don't wait and prolong those projects.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then the other question I had is, I know you did a number of traffic studies, Enon Road, Wallace Road, and Boat Rock. Can you tell me the status of where they are?
We have a report that we just scheduled a meeting with our consultants. There's a good number of requests that we received on the past that we were not completed or were in backlog. So I just received a good number of those reports. So we're going to meet and provide all the details and the next steps, and we're going to provide you proper schedules to all of them.
So the one that was completed on November 7th, and that's you're referring to Enon Road. So you don't have that report back yet? Is that where we are?
We have the technical information, but in order to provide the actual what we're going to do and what should be the next steps, that's what's missing.
Okay, so you've done the traffic, but you haven't proposed a solution on this, and this is the meeting you're saying you got to meet with the engineers on.
Right. We will meet with the engineers, and then we'll get with each of you. We'll provide you the responses of what technically are the results, and then we're going to the next steps, such as perhaps meeting with some of the communities that requested those traffic analysis and so on.
Okay, I don't have any other questions. I want to thank you for the flashing signals that you've been installing, particularly on Boat Rock and Enon Road. We had a number of concerns, but I just want to let you know I appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Before we go to the next person in the queue, I just want to amplify Dr. Rao's concerns. It can take years to get these sidewalks. We have yet to see one piece of dirt move on Old National Highway 5 years into this city. Just could you help me understand why is that process taking so long?
Unfortunately, when you have federal funds, you have to follow a PDP that's controlled by your DOT. That footprint that lists PDP, the number of steps that you have to take in order to get the federal funds and not breach those guidelines, it is enormous. It takes about 6 years. It used to take about 9 years. It takes 6 years. Unfortunately, with the city, it's that on the transfer from Fulton County to the city, we lost it about 2 years just to transfer funds to bring the city to be LAP. This city has, under my direction, been 4 years here, we made it an LAP certified for the city. None of the cities in the past become an LAP certified in the past 10 years. You have other cities and so on. But we have moved very fast to different things. Just to give an example, a federal funded project, Button Stone Hotel, was led by the city, was not led by others. So that's the reason why it takes so long. And then when you go to the acquisition of the 80 parcels that we needed for the sidewalks, you know, it has to be appraisals and then approvals and so on. So the steps are very tedious and so on. That's the primary reason why, but we're getting there, and we're going to let that project to construction next year. That's the schedule.
All right, thank you, Councilwoman Willis.
Yes. So this roundabout on Stonewall Tail and Butner, we've been advocating for it for over a decade now. It started before we became a city. Why is there still a tentative date for December 19th when the 3 council members who represent the area, most of us are saying we wanted the ribbon cutting to be after the holiday?
Staff has been made aware of your request, and there was going to be a poll done to make sure that January the 9th was a convenient date for you.
Okay.
So it is not going to be in December. The proposed date is January the 9th. So if you can respond to Mr. Adams, have you sent the poll out?
I think we did. You have everybody response?
For the Gurma?
For the roundabout?
No, that's the email I sent last night to your office when getting.
Mr. Ramsey, he needs my availability. But it won't be until after the holidays, correct?
Proposing January the 9th.
Okay. So I'm already getting complaints from residents about the roundabouts. They're saying that, will there be lighting in those roundabouts?
Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
Okay. And then how do we go about getting the signage, the community signage for the Cliftondale area in that roundabout? How do we go about doing that? And what's the cost? Similar to the one that was done in Sandtown. You know, when you do something for one side of town, the other side of the town wants it done too. They believe in equability.
Right. Just to let you know that, I don't know if you had a chance to visit, those roundabouts are smaller. The inner circle is a little smaller,
Yeah.
but we already landscape it. Those are the first 2 roundabouts that we actually landscape it. Both of them are landscaped already. And I'm not sure because the size of the diameter of those circles inside, it might create some issues with sight distance, visibility for drivers and so on. Because we have 2 right there, you'll be driving, and then we got to make sure that it's all clear.
So what the Cliftondale community is asking Mrs. Sally Jones, we want some type of, and I say we because I represent the area along with Councilmember Gomes and, well, as of January, along with Councilmember Gomes, that's it. We need some type of community marking or some type of monument sign. I mean, if we can't do the similar design in Sandtown, we need a recommendation.
We'll come up with something that is not going to impact sight distance or visibility to drivers. We'll come back with some recommendations.
What now? No, go ahead. What did he say? So majority of, first of all, this will include resident input. So whatever recommendation that you bring back to the council members who represent that area, we would like to make sure that we take that back to the very active and engaged Cliftondale community for them to have input.
Can I
So this is
sug-
not about me, this is about the residents and what they want in that area.
Right. If I might suggest is, as you're receiving calls from your residents, see if we can have an idea of what they're looking for.
Okay.
Because that's what occurred in the Sandtown as well. We already had sort of an idea of what they were looking for. So,
Okay.
and we helped that out.
Okay, and the last thing, and I sent an email last week. I still haven't gotten the information. And I know some of the residents have seen some of the construction trucks as they traveled to Welcome Mall, it's a good thing. You know, it's a grid project, and power lines are being moved underground in this area, which is really needed because we get hit hard when we have bad weather. But the problem is we didn't know when it was happening, how long it's going to take, you know, and then what other grid projects are happening in Georgia Power in the Georgia Power areas. And so I still have not gotten that information, and I just would like to know, and it's a good thing. When residents call me and ask me why construction trucks are in our neighborhood, I just don't feel that I should have to get in my car, drive up to a construction truck, and ask them what they're doing and to be informed that way. I think that's very unprofessional. And it puts me in a position as the person who represents the area to not be able to respond to my constituents. And so, again, I got another email from the same resident, you know, how long is the project is going to be going on, you know, the project started 2 weeks ago, and what other grid projects are going to happen in this city. And it's a good thing. The power lines are being moved underground. I'm happy about that. But I just would like to know, and I know you're not Georgia Power, but what Georgia Power told me is that Public Works is in the loop anytime they have construction projects in our city.
Right. And I have addressed that with Georgia Power. I have asked them to provide me what they claim that I received. I received on the spreadsheet, and I couldn't forward that to you because I couldn't even understand what it was. So we still have some additional meetings with them so we can have a proper response for you that you can use with your community. And we've been asking them, not just for Georgia Power, for all utility vendors that we have at the city.
So, Ms. Sally Jones, that is, now the point of escalation is to you, because he said he's been asking for this information and they're not giving him the information. And I really do think it's unfair for our residents. And then it also put them in a position where they can't plan accordingly. Because if they know that it's going to be major construction and they have to get to work a certain time, or they have to get their kids to school a certain time, if they know that this stuff is going on, the city can't put out, you know, some type of notification. I'm sorry for a temporary inconvenience, but we have construction going on from this period to GDOT is good about that. You know, we get emails from GDOT all the time when they're doing road construction on the state highways. But it's just very, you know, unprofessional when we have these power companies and Comcast doing major construction projects in our city, which is a good thing. But at least we should be able to notify our residents whenever there is going to be an interruption in traffic.
And we'll get with our regional manager. We actually just talked to her, maybe 2 days ago, Ms. Danetta Godwin, and we'll ask her to give us an update, because I did get your email, but we were trying to work through another issue, and then we were going to get that information from her.
Okay, because I've been waiting for 2 weeks now. I just want to let you know I've been waiting for this information for 2 weeks, and now they have gone from Welcome Mall to Scarborough. And again, this is a good thing. I just want to make sure that my residents know what's going on.
Okay, all right, and we'll request that from them.
Councilwoman Williams.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This probably is a question/comment for you, City Manager Jones. Can we, if it's not already out there, can we put this presentation on the website so that residents can access it? And because it does answer a lot of questions about ongoing projects, and I particularly think that it would be useful for residents to be able to see the status that you've given us in terms of we're 80% of the way on acquiring right-of-way for sidewalks. You know, I think that type of information in the hands of residents can help address some of the concerns that residents have about how long things take and like where we are with projects. So this type of information being released publicly could potentially reduce the number of phone calls and emails we get about why haven't things been done.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Reeves.
Yes, thank you for your presentation, Mr. Valenzuela. Thank you, Mayor, for recognizing me. To piggyback on what Councilmember Williams said, is that also with the hyperlink, can we get a map as well? Like on the case of Buffington Road, it's 2 projects, it's 2 different GDOT projects. And so one of them has 100% of the right-of-way acquisition and the 100% of design, and the other one has 95% of the right-of-way and 95% of the design. But the one that's 100%, we know what that's going to look like, and that's going to impact residents from going from Rural 85 to the rock quarry. And there's some land there that developers are looking at. And so, but to the residents, a map would be helpful to know exactly what those intersection improvements are going to look like. Do you have a copy of that map from GDOT in your possession, sir?
Yes, we have the plans of what entails Buffington Road Phase 1 and 2. It's going to be laid as one project. Our intention is to upload this report on the website and have a link for GIS and create on GIS a hyperlink with all the information that a project has. So when the resident clicks it, they should be able to load that project and get all the information on that particular project.
Can you send me the one that from the 100% completion from the Rural 85 to the rock quarry? Because there's some development, there's some active activity going on right now that they will be able to utilize that information. Can you send that to me?
Yes, I can. Let me verify that. I'm not sure if I have it. 100% plans are when the plans are ready for bidding process, purposes. That's 100%. But I can send it to, let me verify with Georgia DOT what is the latest or what they have, then I'll forward that to you.
Can I get that by tomorrow?
If I get it tomorrow, I'm sure you can have
Yes, sir.
it. Yes, sir.
Dr. Rowley, you're in the queue again.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to address something as it relates particularly to the public art in Sandtown. That was funded with District 1 funds, as well as it was a process where we worked with Fulton County to have a public art consultant get input from the community. We did that about 2 years ago, so I'm just sharing the information. You're roughly talking about 20 grand, and it involved extensive community input. Mr. Valenzuela was involved. I just wanted to share that because we're talking about equity. Well, I use my District 1 funds for it. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to make note that we are 6 minutes from 6 o'clock, and we have asked, or some members have asked, that we take a quick break before the 6 o'clock meeting.
I'm in the queue.
I know that you're in the queue, Councilman Willis. I'm going to ask that you be, I will be the last person to speak after you, and then because we do need to try and keep on. We have 2 more meetings tonight. Councilwoman Willis.
And I commend Councilmember Rao for using her District 1 funds, but I won't be using District 3 funds. I think that those funds should come out of Public Works. And we have made that adjustment in our budget for Public Works this year. So what I'm requesting is that staff bring the recommendation back to the council members who represent that area so that we can take it to our community for community input, and so that we can have whatever appropriate gateway signage that needs to go on those roundabouts. Because I believe gateway signage needs to be in all communities throughout the city, whether it's Pointer Ridge, whether it's Sandtown, whether it's Cliftondale, whether it's the Red Oak Historic District. We need gateway signage throughout the city. That's what's equitable. Thank you.
Okay, and I do just have one follow-up question and then some comments for council. The C-Click Fix resolutions, and I can't remember whose report this was in, but I think it was in Public Works. There's about 4,000 plus requests, and by my calculation, there's a 91% closure rate of C-Click Fix cases. However, there is a closure rate and a resolution rate. And I wonder if in our next report, we could get a little bit more detail about how many of these cases are actually resolved, as well as how many cases are being reopened on the same address. Because what I'm hearing is that people just keep putting the case in, and I don't know if they're just not getting the resolution that they want, or that we can't provide the resolution, but that is a concern. And then lastly, just some things for our city council to consider. We will be talking about our 2023 schedule, and I'm not sure that we will figure it all out. But tonight, well, let me say we have been adding to the city manager's reports and the department presentations in every work session, right? So if you think about it, in this work session, we heard no presentations, but we are at 6 o'clock because we have asked for that many reports from our city, and that's fine. However, we may need to consider for 2023, if we're going to have this level of reporting every month and have up to 2 presentations by the mayor and 2 presentations by council, we may need to rethink the number of presentations, or we may need to add an hour to our work session and begin regularly holding our zoning hearings at 7 versus 6. Just if we're going to have this level, it's just something to consider. We don't have to talk about it right now. Right now, I am going to entertain a motion to close this work session and have a 5-minute break and start the 7-minute break and start the zoning hearing at 6:05 p.m.
So I want a motion to close this work session.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Mr. Clerk, please call the vote.
Roll call vote to adjourn. Councilmember Rao?
Yes.
Councilmember Gums?
Yes.
Councilmember Willis?
Yes.
Councilmember Sebastian?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Reeves? Aye. Councilmember Williams?
Yes.
Councilmember Pritchett?
Yes.
We are adjourned at 5:58 p.m. and we'll reconvene at 6:05.
Thank you. For those of you all coming for or having comments